So good evening. My name's Brandy, in case we haven't met before. Tonight we're doing foam roller and tennis balls. You're going to need a foam roller, a couple of tennis balls, a couple of yoga blocks if you have them, a belt, and a couch cushion, pillow, folded beach towel, blanket, some sort of padding. And we were going to start lying down on our sides. And one more thing to get before you lie down is a tissue or a washcloth, some sort of barrier, because that barrier is going to go between you and the tennis ball. And we're going to start lying down, doing a little TMJ thing. I'm going to elevate my situation on a block, and you might consider doing the same. So I'm going to be lying on my side in a moment. I'm going to put my tennis ball on top of the block, and then I'm going to cover that tennis ball with the tissue or the washcloth or whatever you have, depending on how clean your tennis balls are. Maybe 2 blocks for underneath your head. And then lie down on your side and put that tennis ball in between your cheekbone and your jawbone. And just let the weight of your head rest on that tennis ball. And do your best to breathe. This gets intense real fast. Keep on breathing. And then begin to open and close your mouth. Big yawns. Big yawning breaths. Opening and closing your mouth. And after 3 or 4 big yawning breaths, you're going to shift towards your nose or towards your ear, one way or the other, and find another tender, sore spot. You might consider tipping your chin up, tipping your chin down, just feeling around that cheek, between the cheekbone and your jawbone for a sore spot. It shouldn't be too hard to find one. And then big open mouth yawns. Again, you're going for 2, 3, 4 big open mouth yawns on the second spot. Yawning is one of those things we do first thing in the morning when we wake up or right before we go to sleep. It's a way of transitioning, switching modes, shifting gears. So with a few big open mouth yawns, you're going to downshift into relaxation, theoretically. And then go ahead, release. If you're like me, your eyes might water when you do that. I've trained myself over the years to tear up when I yawn. Kind of a Pavlovian response at this point. So when I yawn, my eyes tend to water. So you see me wiping away a tear, not because I'm in pain, it's because I'm releasing tension, tightness. And then switching sides. So set up to do the other side. Again, you'll find a sore spot. You're on the second cheek, the second side of your head. Find a sore spot, just settle onto it, start to breathe, and then start to yawn, big open mouth yawns. Good. After 3 or 4 good yawns, you're going to shift, seek out a new spot, settle into it, and once again, give it 2, 3, 4 long, slow yawns. And when you've had 2 or 3 forced yawns on that second spot, and if you're like me, you're tearing up, you got some tears to wipe away, you're going to come back to neutral. We're going to set up for the next thing. We're kind of working from our head down towards our toes today, focusing mostly on the upper body tonight, but we'll get a full body foam roll release in. Again, emphasis on the upper body though. I'm going to start now with this foam roller, again in the side lying position. Wipe away those tears. And depending on what kind of foam roller you have, what kind of texture you have on the foam roller, ideally you have a foam roller that's got a little bit of a grip on it so that it will snag your skin. So if the foam roller is slippery, you can take that foam roller and tuck it underneath your sticky mat. So it has a little traction, a little bit of grip. You're going to settle in with that foam roller in the curve of your neck. So that foam roller in the curve of your neck, you're lying on your side. I don't really care what you do with the lower body as long as it's comfortable. Lying on your side. Kind of get your neck skin to catch on that foam roller and get the foam roller wedged in at the base of your skull. So wedge it in at the base of your skull. And then take the top hand, whichever hand it is. Top hand goes straight out in front of you. Sweep it down by your hip. When it gets to your hip, you're going to turn the palm up. Continue that circle. Take that arm back behind you, overhead. And as it comes overhead, turn the palm down. So when the palm is out in front of you, the hand is out in front of you, the palm is down. When it gets to your hip, you flip your palm up. Hitchhike, lead the way with your thumb. You sweep that arm around back behind you, up overhead. And again, turn your palm down. So when it's out in front of you, the palm is down, and when it's behind you, the palm is up. Big arm circles here. And let your upper body go with the flow. So as you circle that arm around, you might find that you rock backwards a little bit. And as you sweep forward, you rock forward a little bit. After the third or fourth circle here, next time you come to your hip, you're going to reverse. Go the other way. And palm is up when the arm is behind you. Palm is down when the arm's out in front of you. Big circles. So getting a little bit of a shoulder stretch here. And with the weight of your head perched right on the edge of that foam roller, snagging your neck skin, helping to pry open the base of your skull. Kind of massaging those neck muscles where they attach to the base of your skull. And then one more big circle here. Finish with that arm out in front. And then you're going to switch sides. So you already saw the demo on this side, so it might make sense for you just to flip on over and turn away from the screen. I'm going to rearrange my whole situation so that I'm still looking at the screen. In general, I'm always trying to encourage you to look towards the screen, but I think since you've already done it once on one side, you get the drift of what's happening. You might not need to rearrange your whole situation and look at me the second time around. But here we are. So again, some traction on that foam roller. Move your hair up out of the way. The base of your skull hooks onto that foam roller and snags the skin of your neck. Do whatever's comfortable with the lower body. Top arm out in front. And sweep it down by your hip. And when it gets to your hip, you're going to turn your palm up and continue sweeping that arm back behind you and around overhead where the palm turns down. So again, when the palm is out, arm is out in front of you, the palm is down. And when the arm is behind you, the palm is up. Going for 3 or 4 big circles on this side. And let your head, your whole body rock chest down, chest up a little bit. Kind of massaging at the base of your skull. And then you can reverse the direction of that circle. And then finish whatever you're doing. And come back to neutral. Then come on up. Then we're going to take that foam roller underneath the spine. So I'm going to scooch forward. And depending on how long your foam roller is, you might want some blocks nearby. Easily accessible. So I'm sitting down. The foam roller is behind me, sticking out like a tail. I know I'm on a black mat with a black foam roller and a black shirt on, so I apologize for all that. Not enough contrast there. And then lie back over it and inchworm your hips up onto that foam roller as well. At this point, if your foam roller is short, endeavor to have the edge, the ledge of the foam roller wedge into the base of your skull. You want the very base of your skull, the top of your neck, your hairline, perched right on the edge of the foam roller. And then if the foam roller isn't long enough to continue and support your hips, well, then you pick your hips up and you put some blocks underneath your butt. So your butt is supported on blocks if your foam roller isn't long enough to support you from head to tail. At this point, again, the edge of that foam roller is right at the base of your skull. Hips are supported on something. Then you're going to take your feet wide, turn your toes in, let your knees lean together. So you're knock-kneed and pigeon-toed. Now your arms are free. So take your arms straight out, like you're Frankenstein rising from the grave or something. Fingertips pointing towards the sky. Now find your shoulder blades. Pull those shoulder blades against the foam roller. So take those arms and plug them into the shoulders and let your shoulders embrace the foam roller. Hug the foam roller with your shoulder blades. Find your front ribs. They're probably hanging out. Can you find your front ribs? And when you exhale, engage those front ribs like you're getting tickled. Now here's the challenge. Keep your front ribs zip tied in. Seatbelt those front ribs into your body. Do not let them spring up. Front ribs are tucked in the entire time. Shoulder blades are embracing the foam roller the entire time. Your thumbs slowly move overhead. Arms are pulled into socket and shoulder blades hug the foam roller as you bring your arms overhead, letting your thumbs descend down towards the ground, only so far as you can go without your ribs poking out. And you might not be able to get all the way to the floor. But that's okay, this is your first pass. From here, keep those arms pulled into socket, reset. By the 3rd or 4th time, magic starts to happen. Again, zip tie those ribs in against your spine. Don't let them poke out. Shoulder blades hug the foam roller. Arms are short and plugged in. As you slowly keep your hands narrow, palms facing one another, bring your arms overhead, thumbs descending down towards the ground, arms plugged into the shoulders the entire time. Shoulder blades hugging the foam roller, front ribs tucked in. Moving mindfully. And come back up. 3rd time. You activate like you're pressing your paw. Actually, if you have a brick, you can put a brick between your hands. If you have a light brick, put that brick between your hands and crush the brick with the palms of your hands. Pull the arms into sockets. Squeeze your shoulder blades against the foam roller. Tuck your front ribs in. Don't drop the block. Slowly bring your arms overhead. Keep pressing your palms against that brick. And bring it back up. 4th time, again, seat belt those front ribs into your body. Hug your shoulder blades against the foam roller. Crush the brick between your hands. Keep your arms short and plugged into the shoulder socket as you bring your arms overhead. 4th time. And maybe your thumbs come a little closer to the ground this 4th time. And then bring it all the way back up. All right, you get to set the foam roller aside. Hold on to your elbows. Same rules apply. Shoulder blades, embrace the foam roller. Shoulders are away from your ears. Front ribs are tucked in like you're getting tickled as you bring your arms overhead. Now, if you got a good grip on your elbows, like I Dream of Jeannie, hold on to those elbows. Push your elbows into your fingertips. Your fingertips hold your elbows so they don't actually separate, but press your elbows wide. They don't go anywhere because you're holding on with your fingertips as you bring your arms overhead. A little bit more shoulder stretch here. And then reset. Notice the weave of your arms. You're going to reweave your arms so that the other arm's on top. Again, get a good grip on those elbows, I Dream of Jeannie style. Push your elbows wide. It doesn't look like you're doing anything, but if I were to slip, you would see my elbows do one of these. So I'm shoving my elbows wide, pulling my shoulder blades against the foam roller, tucking my front ribs in, and bringing those arms overhead towards the ground, maybe. Of course, my hair gets in the way. My head gets in the way. Maybe if I had a shorter neck, my arms would clear my head. And then release. All right. I'm going to take whichever arm this is. For me, it's my left. I'm going to take my left arm across my chest, put my right hand on that elbow. Right hand pulls to the right, left elbow shoves to the left. And that foam roller is right in between the shoulder blades. And you might kind of rock in between those shoulder blades. Rub in between the shoulder blades a little bit. And then we'll do the same on the other side. So this is my right arm coming across. My left hand holds onto the elbow. And the left hand pulls to the left and the right elbow shoves to the right. And I rock my chest a little bit from side to side. Really getting into that muscle between the shoulder blades. All right. And then come to neutral. This is my left arm. My left arm is coming up and I'm turning my arm in such a way that my palm faces my face and the pale skin on my inner arm is turned towards my face as much as I can. I'm trying to inwardly rotate that arm or externally rotate that arm, supinate my arm as much as possible. So the shoulder shrugs away from my ear and I'm going to give myself a pat on the shoulder. Right hand helps guide that left elbow back. Try keeping it narrow. Elbow narrow. Front ribs are pulled into your body. And then ease up. Same side now. Palm flat towards the ground. And if your fingertips touch the ground, if you can press your palm down towards the ground, you're going to get a bit of a wrist stretch here too. A little 2 for 1. Shoulder and wrist stretch. FYI, this is the orientation, rotation of your arms that you would need to do a back bend. Keeping your elbow this narrow, close alongside your head, if you were to set up to do a back bend. And then ease on out. And let's do the same thing on the other side. So for me, it's my right arm. Right arm comes up and I'm turning my palm towards my face, hitchhiking my thumb out to the side, trying to get the meat of the arm to rotate around the arm bone as much as possible so the pale skin of the inner arm is turned towards my face. Shoulders shrug down and give myself a pat on the back. Left hand helps pull that right elbow down towards the ground. All the while front ribs are pulled in and your arm is narrow alongside your head. And then ease up. And we're going to repeat on this side. This time, maybe your palm goes flat towards the ground and you get a little bit of a wrist stretch. and release. All right, we've been here a while. The muscles that attach at the base of your skull have had a lot of deep tissue shiatsu acupressure type of work here, just being perched on the edge of that foam roller. So, again, this is my left side near the camera. I'm going to let my head slide over to the left and drop down towards the ground. I'm not turning to look towards this camera. I'm still gazing skyward as I just kind of push my head off the side and let it drop down towards the ground. So again, my nose is still pointing up towards the ceiling. So far, so good. Then that right arm is free. My head dropped off to the left, and I can take that right arm and wax on, wax off, snow angel, breaststroke, polish the inside of a bubble, and encourage the right side of my neck to get a little bit longer as my head drops off to the left. And then, of course, to get out of this, use your right hand to grab a head full of hair and lift your head up using your hand. Put your head back up on that foam roller. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So you're still gazing skyward, and you're just going to push your head off the side of the foam roller. Let it slide down. So your still nose is pointing up towards the sky, feeling the stretch on the side of your neck, the left side of your neck. And then you can take your left arm and circle it around. Wax on, wax off. Polish the inside of a bubble. And then use your hand, your left hand, to lift your head back up onto the foam roller. Breathe. All right. Now, if you have blocks underneath your bottom, you get the pelvic thrust, lift your hips up and remove the blocks. Because from here, you're going to wiggle your hips up on the foam roller, letting your head fall off. So kind of wiggling your body up the foam roller so the foam roller travels down your spine. So move about an inch or so. So just out of the base of your skull, you're getting into the neck. And you can turn your head from side to side, wiggle your jaw, maybe even yawn. If you need to support your head a little bit, you can put a block or two underneath. Give yourself a little support. Ideally, your blocks are a little lower than the edge of the foam roller. So if your foam roller is like a 4-inch diameter foam roller, if you're using 3-inch tall thick bricks, your head's hanging about an inch. If that's comfortable, great. If it's not comfortable, use that block to support your head. And then you're going to wiggle and travel and perch your neck on the edge of that foam roller, a slightly lower spot. And again, use the brick to support your head or hold on to your head with your hands. Be able to breathe whatever you choose to do. And maybe rock from side to side. And then wiggle and reposition and travel a little bit lower down. The edge of that foam roller is coming to the base of your neck. Supporting your head on blocks or holding your hands, using your hands to support your head. Just kind of massaging those neck muscles. Give yourself some acupressure shiatsu work here. And then finally, traveling a little lower down, just in between the shoulder blades, supporting your head on blocks or with your hands, whatever you need to. Have the edge of that foam roller digging into those tight muscles in between your shoulder blades. If your head's supported on blocks, then your hands are free. And you can do your snow angel, do your breaststroke, your butterfly. You're shrugging and unshrugging, working into those tight stuff in between the shoulder blades. All the while, the front ribs are tucked in, knees are bent, feet are flat, little pelvic thrust tilt happening, abs can be engaged. So you have a little bit more control over this. And then pick a side. Whichever side you pick, I encourage it to be the one where you roll towards the screen and come off. And then continue rolling on over to sit up. Going to take that foam roller into the armpits. So I don't know if it's your right or left, it doesn't really much matter, but do have your blocks and your pillows nearby. And that foam roller is going to go into your armpit. Do whatever's comfortable with the lower body. You can bend your knees, rest on your hip. And support your head in your hand. And just breathe, settle into it. And then begin to tip your chest down, chest up. Chest down, chest up. So the meat of the armpit, the stuff that hangs out of the side of the bra, is getting a massage here. If you need more intensity, then you put your head on your shoulder and you add the weight of your head to that armpit. But if you're like me, you're already crying on the inside, then you can support your head with your hand. And do your best to keep on breathing. And when you have tenderized that armpit, you're going to scooch toward your toes, and the foam roller will travel up towards your elbow. So scooch your hips towards your toes and work that foam roller out of the armpit, the upper third of the upper arm. And then again, chest down, chest up, massaging those triceps. And breathe as best you can. I know this is intense. And then move along. So you can push the foam roller towards the elbow or scoot yourself down, whatever works for you. And put that foam roller halfway between the armpit and the elbow. That foam roller halfway between the armpit and the elbow. Shift, chest down, chest up. And again, if you need more weight, you can put the weight of your head on that arm. I did bar yesterday and Zumba with weights today. So I've been doing a lot of reps of the 3-pound weights, and I can feel a little twang as that muscle twangs across that foam roller. All right, and then one more spot just above the elbow. So you're still on the upper arm, just above the elbow. And with that elbow just above the foam roller, or the foam roller just above the elbow, your armpit yawns open towards the ground. And you might get a little bit of a pec stretch, a little bit of a chest stretch when your chest tips down towards the ground. And then release. And get to switch sides. For you, you might just flip over, face the other way, because you know what you're doing. Or rearrange the whole situation to look towards the screen and do the same thing on the other side. So starting with that foam roller tucked into your armpit. Knees snuggled in close to your chest. Support your head in the palm of your hand or put your head on your shoulder, whatever works for you. Do your best to breathe. and then start to tip chest down, chest up. Chest down and chest up. Rocking back and forth. And then we're going to move along. So you could scoot your hips towards your toes. Work that foam roller up out of the armpit onto the back side of the upper arm. Again, rock chest down, chest up. Really massaging those triceps. And then scooching that foam roller closer to the elbow, halfway between the elbow and the armpit. Keep on breathing. Again, if you wanted more intensity, you would put your head down on your arm. And then one final spot just above the elbow, lower portion of the upper arm. And you may notice that when you dive your chest down towards the ground, you might get a little bit of a pec chest muscle stretch. And then slowly come off of that. All right. You're going to come to a kneeling position. And this is where you might want to put that cushion underneath your knees. You need a little bit of padding there. So you're going to be kneeling for a few moments. That foam roller is going to go underneath your forearms, up and down. These tight muscles from all your texting and typing. So here's my pinky fingers. I'm going to put the pinky finger blade edge of my arm on the edge of the foam roller. Thumbs are up. And you're in charge of how heavy you get on this thing. The further you push that foam roller out, the more you have to use your abs. And if you're using your abs, try to take your belly off the ground. I'm trying to maintain a cat-like back. Chin tucked, tail tucked, back arched towards the sky. As you iron out those forearms. You might consider turning your palms up and running from wrist to elbow. Maybe start working your elbows narrow, close together. And then you can either perch your elbows on the edges of blocks or on that foam roller, whatever you have better control over or whatever you feel more comfortable doing. So have good control over that foam roller, or if you're nervous about that foam roller, use a couple blocks. And elbows are narrow, thumbs hitchhike out to the side, pinky fingers narrow, close to one another. Wiggle your hips back. No good place for your head on this one. Let your heart melt. And do your best to keep breathing. And then find your tummy. It's that thing that's hanging out. And as you exhale, lift your tummy up first and crawl forward. Bail out of that one. Ooh. And you can set those blocks aside. You're going to be lying down, face down with that foam roller. And before you completely pass out on me, maybe sneak a peek at what's going to happen. In a moment, you'll be lying down, face down. This is my right hand, and I'm going to roll over to the left with my right arm. My right arm is arcing across the sky like a rainbow, and my top leg, which would be my right leg, roll over, and then roll back in slow motion. So I'm just going to cue right. So my left side's going to stay down, and my right hand is going to come up and over, and maybe that right leg swings back behind me as well, or whatever feels good with that right leg as I rotate the torso. So letting that right arm arc across maybe 3 times. And then I'll go to the left. So the right hand stays down and that left arm comes over. And this top leg, the left leg just kind of drags. I'm going to go 3 times on the left. And then reset. That was the warm-up. Now your challenge is to shimmy your legs narrow. Try getting the front of your hips flat down on the ground. Curl your toes under, press back through your heels, lift your knees up. Continue to shimmy your legs super narrow. And then when you untuck your toes, cross one big toe on top of the other. If you can, hook your big toes together. Hook your big toes. Let your heels go wide. Holding onto the foam roller. Your challenge, if you choose to accept it, is to not let your hips go anywhere. So staple your pelvis to the ground and take that right arm over. You're not going to get very far, but you'll feel a stretch. And release. And left arm up and over. And release. Once more each side. Trying to keep your hips down. Trying to rotate your torso as far as you can without your hips moving. And release. And last side. Last time. And release. All right. Shoulders shrug away from your ears. Pull your belly up first. Everything else up second. Back it up into a child's pose. And then from here, you're going to bring that foam roller right across your pubic bone. So in the car, when you put on your seatbelt is supposed to go low across your hips. It's green. Hopefully you can see that. Maybe you can see that. Low across your hips. It goes below your belly, the hip creases. That's where you want this foam roller to go, at the hip creases, across the pubic symphysis. It's below the bladder. So you're not making yourself pee here. Foam roller goes across that pubic symphysis, right across those hip creases. You're going to curl your toes under, press back through your heels, activate your legs, shimmy your legs nice and narrow. You can leave your toes curled under. Get a little bit of a toe stretch here as you press back through your heels if you like. Shrug your shoulders away from your ears. Elbows are narrow underneath your chest. Elbows are narrow as you take your thumbs out to the side like you're hitchhiking. Maybe turn your palms up. So elbows narrow, thumbs press wide, palms turn up. Shoulders shrugged away from your ears, and then exhale, lift your belly up. Pelvic thrust. Press the front of your hips into that foam roller. Keep pressing back through your heels, keeping your legs super, super straight. Shrug your shoulders away from your ears. Lift your belly up a little bit more. Good, so far so good. Press the base of your skull towards the ceiling. Turn your palms down and begin to straighten your arms any amount at all. Your toes are curled under. You're pressing through your heels. Your legs are super, super straight. Pubic bone jamming into the foam roller. Chin hooked to your chest. Head lifting. Shoulders pulled down away from your ears. Good. And then release. And just melt. Your butt will be perky. Knees bent, belly melts. And just let the front of your hip crease curve over the top of the bar roller. And breathe into that low back. Let's do that up dog variation a second time, because we did all that shoulder prep for a reason. All right. Step by step. Toes curl under. Press back to your heels. Activate your legs. Hug your elbows in narrow underneath your chest. Shoulders shrug away from your ears. Chin tucked to your chest. Elbows stay narrow as you hitchhike your thumbs wide. Feel those shoulder blades pull down your back. The back and sides of your neck get even longer. Find your tummy by exhaling. Pelvic thrust. Lengthen your lower back. Press your hip joints into the foam roller. Lift your belly away from the ground. If you're ticklish, you're going to be really good at pulling in those front ribs as well. Keep pressing back through your heels, keeping the legs super straight and strong. And then if you're ready for more, you flip your palms down and extend your arms. Any amount at all. Chin is tucked. The back of your neck stays long and wrinkle-free. Keep pressing through your heels. Keep on breathing. And then release. Again, melt over the foam roller. Big old bottom. Feel the curve of your hip bones melding to the top of the roller. All right, we're going to move along. So from here, exhale, pull your tummy in. Lift your belly up, everything else up. And you're going to take that foam roller to the very top of your thighs. So just below that pubic symphysis at the very top of your thighs, elbows underneath your shoulders. And start to foam roll from hip joint to knee. All the while, keep your belly lifted. Front ribs tucked in, like you're being tickled. So working those quadriceps. And then backing up into a child's pose. Now reposition that foam roller now, just below the knee. I curled my toes under. I tucked that foam roller underneath my knees. Hands come out in front. Once again, exhale, activate your abs, and roll. Be mindful of what you're doing to your wrists. You can be on fists with your thumbs pointing forward, or you can challenge yourself to be up on fingertips. Try not to collapse into your wrists. If your hands are flat, they are spread wide. You're clawing at your mat with your fingertips, and you're pressing weight into your calluses, into where your fingers attach to your hand. Press weight there. At the same time, claw the yoga mat. And then finally, roll that foam roller all the way to the ankle joints. And you can sit back on your heels. So my anklet socks, my ankle joints, right where the anklet bracelet sits. Sit down on it. Again, if that's too much intensity, you can be in a kneeling position, maybe using blocks to stabilize, or down on all fours, really controlling how much weight you put under those ankles. Choose your own adventure on this one. If you need more intensity, then sit down on it. And do your best to breathe. All right, from here, you're going to move the foam roller backward or move yourself forward so that the foam roller comes to the necks of the toes, where the toes attach to the foot. And I dare you, sit back on it. Really getting the tops of your feet to stretch. Again, you can control how much intensity you put on those feet. You can be kneeling, or you can be on hands and knees. Choose your own adventure on this one. And then from here, release. All right. Gonna come on to your side, and everybody's favorite, we're gonna do the iliotibial band. So here's my hip, top of my hip. I am below the top of the hip, above the top of the thigh. I'm in that side seam of the granny panties or the tighty whities zone, the side hip pocket. Shoulder shrugged away from the ear, elbow hugged in narrow to support the shoulder. So make sure the elbow's underneath your shoulder, not ahead of it. Shoulders plugged in, arm plugged into the shoulder, shoulder drop down away from the ear. So this shoulder joint is stable, and you're helping to tone that shoulder muscle to help maintain your shoulder so you don't dislocate it. And you're in charge of how much weight you put on that foam roller. Stacking your legs, you've got the weight of 2 legs on that foam roller. You want a little less intensity, then you use a kickstand. The kickstand can be in front or in back, whatever you want to do with a kickstand. Speaking of kickstand, the top hand can act like a kickstand, or you can challenge yourself. Make sure you shrug out that bottom shoulder, pull your tummy in. Keeping your tummy pulled in will allow you to tip forward and tip back and control this. Again, you can have kickstands. Stay out of that bottom shoulder. Keep your side waist off the ground, your belly pulled in, smile on your face, make it look comfortable. I know it's not. And then continue moving down the leg. So I'm going to move towards the top edge of my mat. That foam roller is going to travel to the top third of the thigh. And check the placement of the elbow directly underneath your shoulder, side waist off the ground, legs stacked if you're going there, or you can use kickstands. Top hand can be a kickstand as well if you need it, or not. And you can rock front to back, belly down, belly up. And continue. So moving the foam roller towards the knee, or moving yourself up that foam roller so it lands somewhere halfway between the knee and the hip. You're in charge of how much weight you put on that sore spot. And then finally, just above the knee, the lower portion of the thigh. Most intense if you're putting all your body weight on that spot. A little less intense if you let your upper body come to the ground. If you let your upper body come to the ground, you're taking that much more weight off that sore spot, which can be quite tender. Again, still try that belly up, belly down thing. And then you can play around with giving the whole sideline a roll. And then you get to move over to the other side. So switching sides, again, you can just flip over, turn away, or rearrange the whole situation. So you're still looking at the screen. Choose your own adventure. Foam roller is going to go to that side hip pocket. So it's below the hip bone and above the thigh bone. That side seam, tighty whitey granny panty spot. And support yourself. Make sure that supporting arm is in socket. It's not shrugging up by your ear. Pull that arm bone down into the shoulder. Make sure the elbow is underneath the shoulder. Side waist off the ground. You might stack your feet or do the kickstand thing, either with the foot and or the hand. And then play around with belly down, belly up. And then move along, top third of the thigh. Again, make sure that elbow is underneath the shoulder. And then continue along, halfway between the knee and the hip. This is the balance point for me. At this point, I might be able to put my hips down. You might consider doing that as well. And then finally that lowest portion of the thigh, just above the knee. And if you are putting your torso down on the ground, you don't have to worry about what the shoulder's doing anymore. And then it is time to roll that entire side line from hip to knee. Give it a couple passes. And then come off of that. In fact, get it back on it though. Have a seat. We're gonna work our way down the back of the legs. So as promised, from head to toe, full body thing. A lot of shoulder emphasis today, but also hitting all the major regions of the legs. Spread your butt cheeks out. Lift and separate, divide and conquer. And then take your feet apart so you can control this whole situation. Flex your feet nice and flat, sit up tall. Straighten your legs, hold on to the foam roller so you're not gonna fall off. Shoulders back, chest lifted, and just let those sit bones settle onto the foam roller. There are acupressure points at the sit bones that help to release the back of your legs and your lower back. Getting good contact at those sit bones. It's like an acupressure thing. Take a few breaths, settle in. All right, you guessed it. You're gonna start to hinge forward. Hands come to the ground, maybe hands come on blocks. I'm definitely not pancaking yet. I'm just angled forward a little bit, just enough to put my hands on the ground because I'm going to wiggle my butt back. And by wiggling my butt back, my chest comes closer to my thighs. My feet are apart so I can control this. You might even have your hands inside your legs. And you're doing your best to breathe. And then hands come back behind you and bend your knees, sit up. Reset. I'm going to do the same thing again. Pressing your legs straight. I've got my hands inside the legs now as I bow forward. And hands go backwards to press into the ground. And again, shift forward, dig in with your heels, sit up. Third time's a charm. Maybe your hands are inside your legs a little bit more. Maybe your legs have gone a little bit wider. Lead the way with your butt. Stick your butt out behind you. Maybe rock back. Maybe grab a hold of your feet. Come into a nice forward fold. So I've let my butt come to the ground and I've got that foam roller tucked into my knee pits, more or less, right there into the knee pits. And I'm on the inside of my legs, bowing forward. And then slowly come on up. In fact, move that foam roller off to the side. Shifting to a kneeling position. And get the front of the leg and the calf a little bit more. So I'm going to step forward with my right foot. And I'm putting that foam roller underneath my left knee. And hands are on the inside of the right foot. The right foot goes wide. Across the front edge of the mat, I've got hand, hand, heel. Hand, hand, heel across the front edge of the mat, everything lined up. Back knee curled under, or back toes curl under, pressing into that back knee. A nice lunge. That back knee elevated, it tends to tip your hips in such a way that your butt's a little bit perkier and your spine's a little bit longer. So try having a perky backside and a nice long spine. And then find your tummy. And when you exhale, pull that tummy in tight. Look towards that tummy, lift it up out of the way, and then drag that back knee forward. And let's switch sides. Right knee on the foam roller, left foot forward. Hand, hand, heel across the front edge of your mat. Dropping into a nice low lunge. Toes are curled under. Hand, hand, heel across the top of your mat. Back toes curl under. Abs engaged. As you push through that back heel, try lengthening your spine. Pressing through the back heel, your knee elevated a little bit more than usual, perhaps. Lets you tip your hips in such a way that you stick your booty out and advance your chest forward. Going for a long back. And then activate your abs, go the opposite. Cat pose, drag that back knee in. So hopefully you figured out how to use your abs tonight a little bit. Not strictly required, but it does come in handy if you know how to use your abs. And we're going to be settling in here. So have all your toys nearby. Coming up on the grand finale here. So lying down. Foam roller is going to go in the knee pits. You might consider putting a blanket, folded blanket or pillow underneath your head. And you got a foam roller, belt. You're gonna bring your right knee into your chest. Give that knee a hug and just kind of drag that knee side to side. And using your hands, drag the knee all the way one way, all the way the other, trying to really spread out the hip. So I'm holding onto my right knee and I'm spreading my right hip out on the ground. I'm gonna make as much contact with that butt cheek, that hip on the ground. And that's the right side. So release the right side and then bring the left knee up. And swing the knee this way, that way, sweep it in, sweep it out, pull it up, pull it down, pull it across to really widen out that left hip. Let that left butt cheek spread out. And then when that left cheek is well spread out, you're going to switch once again. Bring the left knee back into your chest. Double check, make sure it's as spread out as it possibly can be. Lots of lower back, hip, butt contact on that right side. And then the belt goes over the arch of that right foot and you raise the roof. Take the belt, loop it around the back of your hands a couple times so that you can hold on, but keep your fingers relaxed. No death grip here. Shoulders shrug away from your ears. And just take that right leg as straight as you possibly can. Nice thing about that foam roller underneath the left leg is that on the back side of that left knee are acupressure points that help to release the knee. It's also the attachment points for the hamstring. And after a few breaths, the right leg, the one in the air, just kind of releases. You might be able to bring it in a little closer to your body. That left knee elevated on the foam roller, stimulating those acupressure points. A lot more of your lower back is going to be on the ground than it would if that leg was just kind of hovering in air. And then release. I like to slip both feet in for just a micro moment and then release the right leg out. Because I don't want to have to redo my hands all over again. And then take that left leg super straight. Let that right knee pit drape over the foam roller. Let both legs get very heavy. Both legs very heavy so that you're stimulating the back side of the right knee and the left thigh is stretching. Kind of doing both legs at the same time in different ways. And breathe. Again, the magic happens after the third or fourth slow breath. The bones start to settle in. The muscles start to relax. And then release. All right. Set that belt aside. You got a couple of blocks nearby. You can just hang out here, Shavasana this way, or really, you want to take it up a notch. It might be worth it to roll over, sit up, and put some blocks underneath your heels. Or you can do a little fancy placement of the blocks without using your hands. Put those blocks down to go underneath your heels. And have that foam roller in the knee pits. So your ankles supported, your knee pits are supported. If you're using a pillow, your head is supported. And so much of your back is touching the ground. Shrug your shoulders underneath you. Hitchhike your thumbs out to the sides. Shake your head no, wiggle your jaw. Maybe even yawn. You will sleep well tonight. Take a few moments here. Some long, slow breaths. Quick preview of how comfortable you will be in bed tonight. If you actually fall asleep, that's fine. Nothing wrong with sleeping. It's that whole diet and exercise thing that people remember, but they forget the sleep part. So diet, exercise, and sleep. If you're getting enough sleep, you're less likely to chug coffee and eat sugar, which helps the diet. And you feel like you have enough energy to exercise. So nothing wrong with falling asleep, especially if you need sleep. But there is a Jedi mind trick that you might choose to employ if you don't actually want to fall asleep. So, noticing your breath, letting your breath move slowly in and out through your nose. You're going to count backwards from 60, letting the exhales be the even numbers. E for exhale, E for even. And the inhales are the odd. So counting silently to yourself, begin with an inhale and exhale 60. Inhale 59. Exhale 58. And keep on going. Slowly begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. Wiggle your jaw, wiggle your nose. Notice, did you lose track of your numbers? Like a Jedi, it takes a lot of mindfulness to count down from 60 to 0 without losing track. Begin to stretch and move and yawn. Make your way slowly over onto your right side. And then press yourself up to sit. Sit any way that's comfortable for you. And we'll finish with hands together at the heart. Namaste. And thank you for